This is Georgia High School Sports Daily, powered by IBEW Local 613.
All right, welcome back to Georgia High School Sports Daily. I'm your host, Nigel Wilkins, along with Craig Sager. Remember that you can catch the show on the Atlanta News First app, also on the CBS Sports local streaming app, Zine, and on the Peachtree Sports Network via YouTube TV. Okay, so we should have a guest in studio today, Jeannie Campbell, but he's still waiting to get here. Hopefully we'll have an update here soon. But we're going to start with our fast break headlines, obviously, and that's kind of where we'll start the show. But Craig, real quick, just any big things that you've seen, obviously that Grayson sweep over, or that Buford sweep over Grayson, will that affect your rankings at all?
Yeah, so right now, Buford's at, I believe, number 4. You got Grayson at number 8. Grayson 17-6. Well, I guess they're 17-8 now, but they were 17-6 before yesterday's series. They started the season 0-4, but if you remember, that is exactly what happened last year when Grayson started the season sub 500, and then they ended up making a big run all the way to the state finals. Last year, they also got swept by Buford sort of at the exact same point in the season, this spring break period. So in game 1, we'll get to it in the fast break headlines, but Buford pretty much dominated that game 1. In game 2, Grayson was able to have a comeback, but it's still, I mean, I'm pretty sure this is one of the first, double headers Grayson's played this season, so that's a big test for them, just to go back-to-back in the same day. I think it's going to be helpful for both of them, though, just to have that doubleheader. You're playing a great team in Buford. You ended up losing, but still time to build, and they got a big series coming up, I think, against Archer, which might end up determining the region championship. Grayson plays extremely well at home also. That's another reason they were able to have a big run last year.
And obviously that's our first headline, so we're going to bring that up, but we're just talking about it, Craig, obviously. Buford sweeping Grayson in that top 10 showdown. Like you said, this happened last year. Grayson ended up making a deep run, obviously, here. But I thought the second game, obviously, they put a lot better. 10-7, 6-0. They shut them out. But second game, a lot more scoring from, obviously, Grayson in that one.
Yeah, and it was, I believe, 9-4 heading into the 6th inning. But where Grayson was able to chip into that lead and really put pressure on Buford was base running. I mean, once they get the players on base, they are very talented. And then every single team we talked to last year that ended up facing Grayson in the playoffs, and even I think it was Coach Amos too from Walton, he said Grayson was the best defensive team he had faced. Anytime they thought they hit a gap, anytime they thought they were going to get a base hit, Grayson was able to make the play. So defensively, looks like they can still find a little room of improvement. Buford's an outstanding team, but then offensively, if they can just get these guys on base, they can chip away at leads. They can come from behind. They're going to be a dangerous team. So I still think they're top 10. This is non-region action. It's spring break also, but I think the big takeaway for them is this is one of the few times this season where they're playing those back-to-back games. That's always tough, but they had stamina in the tank and were able to make it close in that game too.
100%. That's what matters at the end of the day. I think they'll be fine, take their lumps, and they should be good for a postseason run. All right, Craig, you got headline 2. Former Marietta coach Richard Morgan finds a new home.
Yeah, so Richard Morgan obviously came to the state of Georgia from out of state, had a lot of success coaching. He left the program this offseason. Now he's at Niceville. Here's the story. After Grant Thompson's resignation from Niceville, Coach Morgan is now the head coach. Their principal, Charlie Morello, said, Coach Morgan's list of achievements and accomplishments in high school football is incredible. Coming out of interviews, he was the unanimous #1 choice of the Niceville High School Football Steering Committee, and we are lucky we have landed him. Morgan has a Georgia high school football title to his name and was unemployed after announcing his resignation at the Metro Atlanta Powerhouse in November of last year. According to Niceville's social media, Morgan's record at Marietta was 48-57 in his 8 seasons. Morgan stood on the mountaintop as a state champion in 2019. It was the school's first state title since 1967. After earning his state title with the Blue Devils in 2019, Foster and his team compiled a 20-36 record according to Max Preps. According to the stats posted on Niceville's social media, Morgan has 3 state championships in total. He has helped 185 players compete at the college level and has 7 NFL players who have played for him. So the last few years, Marietta struggled. I mean, I think we were at the Marietta-Buford game.
Mm-hmm.
They actually kept it close, but they just didn't have enough to, I think, get over the hump the last few years in terms of talent. They had some great players. It's a solid run. I think he accomplished his mission at Marietta. He brought that state title to Cobb County. And now what stands out about him going to Niceville, one of the big things is not just the championships. Anyone that has success coaching in Georgia in the highest classification, that is such a huge just area of excitement in the overall resume. So we'll see how he does there, but he has laid it on his feet.
Yeah, I mean, that's the good thing that you want to see obviously, this early, too, because he stepped down. I believe it was earlier in the spring. So just seeing him already be back on his feet before the season even commences in 2025, I think is huge for him.
Yep, so he will be on the sideline. Probably be following them a little bit this year, but Niceville's an unbelievable program.
Yes, they are.
And he's going to come in with a lot of energy. I always had a great time watching Coach Morgan in the 7-on-7s when
Yes.
Marietta won it a couple times. One of my favorite things was one time they were winning the championship. I think they were playing like Hoover or someone in the finals. And this guy goes up and makes an incredible catch for the game-winning touchdown. And he turns to me and he goes, "That's our 4-string receiver right there. That's our 4-string. That's how good we are." So he's a guy that hypes up his own players. I think that's what's exciting about him. It's like he would go around and say, "We've got the best talent. We're going to schedule tough." He has a confidence he can bring to that program.
100%. And obviously, they are right on the brink of winning the title, so it should be good. Niceville fans that watch the show should definitely be entertaining, obviously, in Florida. All right, Greg, you got a final headline. What's the latest around this rivalry with Lowndes and with Dawson? We know how good Lowndes is, obviously, in baseball.
Yeah, well, Lowndes has 2 back-to-back state titles, so in terms of this rivalry, Valdosta knows how tough this matchup's going to be. But for them, I feel like it's a way to spoil the season. They're going to make the playoffs, but also build some serious momentum. Anything can happen in these rivalries, but there's no doubt Lowndes has been the premier team. So as the regular season nears an end and the postseason approaches, the programs at Lowndes and Valdosta aim to finish strong. Lowndes is back on top of the region despite graduating a huge amount of experienced seniors last year and entering this season ready to rebuild. As of this matchup, you've got Richmond Hill playing well, you got Colquitt County, and then Lowndes actually sees 16-9. I want to point this out. They've had 3 straight losses to Florida teams in this last week. So that's another interesting thing. They're coming into this big rivalry matchup after losing some out-of-state ones. This is a big moment for Lowndes to just play a clean series, get the win over the rival, and then force all these Atlanta teams to come down south.
100% agree, obviously. And that home field advantage is like no other, right, Craig?
Oh, yeah. I mean, that's such a great rivalry. I love it. And it's not just football, it's all sports.
100%. All right, guys, I'll take headline 4. Harry Perkle, he pitched a historic first no-hitter for second-year baseball. Obviously, a great feat. Perkle needed just 74 pitches for a complete game victory, 5-0 over host Brunswick. He added 2 hits and an RBI also to the plate. Andrew Carr, he had 2 hits and 2 runs. Aiden O'Brien had an RBI. Alex Newman had a hit, a run and an RBI. Keller Caldwell had a hit, and Nicholas Fernandez had an RBI as well. Second year improved to 15-10 on the season. And as you guys can see there, 3 strikeouts, 2 BBs, and 7 innings pitched. Phenomenal performance from him.
Yep, and just 2 walks, so nearly a perfect game also. Second year, it's great to see. But, man, we've seen so many no-hitters this year, and I think what was interesting when we had Alatuna's coach on, Cartersville's coach, he was talking about how rare it is to see guys like Nate Russell go the full game and get these no-hitters. I feel like in the past we've seen like 2 or 3 guys maybe combine for a no-hitter, but this year we've seen several just in the last month, complete game no-hitters, which that's huge. It saves the rest of your bullpen. It keeps you on schedule, and that's a great accomplishment for Harry Perkle. Not only the no-hitter, but the first one in program history. That is very special.
100% agree. It's going to be a lot of fun, obviously, to see what they're able to do this postseason, and second year continue to make noise, obviously, in all sports. All right, final headline. You got JT Reitenauer. He shuts down Bulls as Parkview hits the 20-win mark with a 4-0 victory over them this past week in the 6th-inning win. Reitenauer, he struck out 9 over his 6 shutout innings and gave up just 1 hit. He's 5-0-1 this season when he steps to the mound. Manny Ford struck out 2 in a perfect 7 innings to complete the shutout for the Parkview Panthers. And now when the Panthers were led offensively by Bryce Carter, who went 1 for 3 with an RBI, C.J. Woollock with 1 for 1 with an RBI, and Malachi Washington, who also had an RBI as well in that one. Just what can you say? How good is this Parkview team this year, Craig?
They're really good. So they got a new coach, of course. Their coach went over to Gainesville after leading the program to probably more wins than any other team in the state. But what's interesting to me about Parkview this season, up until that Loganville game, they had 4 losses, but every single one of them was by 1 run. And the playoffs, they're going to be best of 3 series. Parkview has not lost back-to-back games. They have depth. They've got outstanding players. So they're a team that's just going to be so tough to beat in that 3-game series. They can bounce back very well. Bulls is a great team. And just to see their level of focus during the spring break matchups, playing an out-of-state team, giving up just 1 hit, very talented. But I think for me, it's their ability to bounce back and not lose back-to-back games.
Yeah, 100%, obviously. And for them, they've always been obviously a staple this year. Just real quick, as the last time before we wrap up, just what's your thoughts just in totality of 6A? I know we talked about it with Etowah. Just what chance do you give Parkview to compete in there with them, Walton, and several other contenders?
I really like their chances. I think it has gotten tougher, though, just the addition of Etowah this year. North Gwinnett's playing extremely well. You see Buford, they bounced back from that Marist loss very well against Grayson. I still think, Parkview might be the best team out of Gwinnett County this year. There's about a week and a half left for them to prove that and get home field, but certainly you got North Gwinnett, Parkview, Buford. I'd say that's probably the top of Gwinnett County. One of those teams will probably be represented.
100% agree. Well, guys, we're going to conclude this segment. Coming up, we will have more after the break, so don't go anywhere. Don't touch that dial. Come right back here on the Peachtree Sports Network.
Great teams are committed, focused on the details, and work hard to be their best. From practice to games, right down to their gear. Your field is a critical part of the game that allows your athletes to showcase their athletic abilities. Sports Turf is committed to bringing your team innovative sports surfaces with unparalleled performance. You bring the vision. Our team brings it to life.
Georgia High School Sports Daily is brought to you by...
This makes my dad proud. He went through his whole career as an employee. Now I'm the employer, something he didn't achieve.
We are signatory to IBEW and do IBEW people wherever we go that we feel like they are faster and better than any of our competition.
The advantages of being a signatory contractor is you're trained employees. You have unlimited manpower. It allows me to bid on jobs that I ordinarily would not go after.
We celebrate the athletes, the buzzer beaters, the record breakers, the wins. Now, it's time to celebrate the people behind it all. The advice givers, the community shapers, the game changers, the life changers. It's time to celebrate our coaches. Join all of us at BSN Sports and show your coach some love by sharing their story with #ThankYouCoach.
Man, you know how to do this? Man, I don't even know. I was flipping burgers last week.
Violation, unsportsmanlike conduct, impersonating a craftsman.
Skilled trade unions are well-trained career pros, not part-timers. Construction is a rewarding and lucrative career with the advancement potential, but you have to do it the right way with the right training. Learn how you can be a pro. Find your career at GeorgiaConstructionCareers.com.
Georgia High School Sports Daily is brought to you by the International Brotherhood of Electrical Workers, Local 613. Electrify your career.
Welcome back to the Georgia High School Sports Daily Show. This is Intern Insights. I'm Pilar Rossi, joined by Will Fields, and today we'll be diving into March Madness. Will, it's been an exciting ride, especially with some Georgia natives making it all the way to the Final Four on both the men's and the women's side. Champions have been crowned. On Sunday, Paige Beckers led UConn to their 12th national title, defeating South Carolina, the defending champions. On Monday night, the men's tournament wrapped up as Florida rallied back from a 12-point deficit to edge out a win over Houston and win their third national title and their first since they went back-to-back in 2006 and 2007. Before we spotlight our Georgia natives, Will, how'd your brackets do?
Not great, not great. I made 5 brackets this year. My best bracket out of all of them had about a 74% accuracy rate. And of course, that wasn't the one that I submitted to the score group chat, but I ended up 10th in that group, and I would really rather not talk about it. I could have ended up 3rd if I chose the right bracket, though. But that being said, I did pick the correct Final Four matchups, but I took Auburn over Florida instead of and also Duke over Houston instead of the way it actually went. And I was fully expecting Duke to win anyway, but it didn't work out that way. You know, it's March Madness, it's crazy. But what about you, Pilar?
I actually did pretty well. I came in 5th in the Score Atlanta bracket. All like you, all my Final Four picks were spot on, but I had Auburn and Duke in the championship game, so things kind of fell apart at the end. In one of my other brackets, I did come out with the win.
Okay.
I had Florida and Duke in the championship game, but I took Duke to win it all, but hey, a win is a win.
Hey, congratulations on the win anyway.
All right, let's shift gears to the local talent we got to watch on the national stage. Will, tell us who represented the Peach State on the men's side.
Well, first things first, there was 27 former GHSA guys in the tournament, but by the Sweet 16, there were 8, and in the Final Four, interestingly enough, it ended up being 4. 3 were from Auburn and 1 from Florida. Now, to get into Auburn, Drake Cardwell is a redshirt freshman from Evans High School. Dylan Cardwell, his older brother, came from McEachern, and he's a senior this year. And finally, Jaheim Hudson. He's a senior from Wheeler. Out of the 3, Dylan Cardwell is the only one that was statistically represented in that loss against Florida. But that doesn't take away from the incredible journey these men have been on, starting off as high school standouts and in the state of Georgia and ending up on a team competing on the sport's biggest stage in the Final Four. Now, Dylan Cardwell posted 9 points, 8 rebounds, 1 steal, and 80% from the field in the Final Four game.
I feel like even if you're a star of your high school or a top recruit, you never really know what your role will look like once you enter the collegiate level, especially at a top school like Auburn. So right. You mentioned Drake Cardwell, he did a red shirt, and then Hudson didn't get as many minutes as he would have liked. But right. What did their paths look like before they arrived at Auburn?
Well, for Drake Cardwell, back in his days in Evans, he was an all-star, 2-time CRSA all-star, region championship runner-up. He was averaging 15 points a game, 5 rebounds, 3 assists, 2 steals, almost 2 blocks per game. I mean, he was a stat sheet stuffer. So obviously he was a great player then, but I do understand wanting to take a year to kind of get your body right, make sure that you're ready to compete on a collegiate level.
Right.
With Jaheim Hudson, on the other hand, he had a pretty interesting journey in his own right. He graduated as a 3-star recruit, top 75 power forward in the whole nation. He led the Wheeler Wildcats to back-to-back state championships, and on top of that, in his senior season, they were a top 25 nationally ranked team. He was actually playing his first 2 seasons of college ball at Georgia State, and there he won a Sun Belt Conference championship. And then he later transferred to SMU, where he averaged 5.4 points, 3.4 rebounds, and on top of that, he added 18 steals and 17 block shots. And so he ended up recording his season high at 21 points and 4 rebounds against Indiana State at the NIT first round.
So it's safe to say these guys were pretty solid.
Yeah, I'd definitely say so. But now let's go ahead and talk about the national champions, Florida. Now, there only was one player from Georgia that was representative on that team. His name is Will Richard. He's a senior. He's from Woodward. And I'll be honest, Final Four wasn't exactly his best performance. He had 7 points, 6 rebounds, and he shot 1 for 6. But the team effort was enough to get them a win and move them on to that national championship game. That said, when the lights were shining the brightest, he was ready to deliver. He led the team in points, having 18 points, 50% shooting, 4 for 7 from 3, 8 rebounds, 2 steals, and that was enough to lead his team to that national championship. Now, frankly, he's been a winner. I mean, this is a guy you can rely on in the big moments. He's kind of been like this his entire career. In high school, he was instrumental in Woodward's 2020 state championship run as a junior, by the way. And now as a senior, he earned GHSA first team All-State while averaging 24 points per game. His freshman year at Belmont, he averages 12.6 rebounds with 30 starts on his 33 appearances and posted 47% field goal percentage and 80% free throw percentage. Now, he did move over to Florida, and he spent the remaining 3 years of his college career there, and he scored over 1,100 points in his 3 collegiate seasons, as well as 744 of those points happening in the first 2 seasons at Florida. But enough with the men. Let's go ahead and see what's going on with the women.
All right, in the women's tournament, we saw 2 Georgia natives make a tremendous impact on powerhouse SEC champion South Carolina during both the Final Four and the championship game. Senior forward Sania Fagan, hailing from Ellenwood, Georgia, she attended Forest Park High School, where she had a storied career, earning a number of accolades, including McDonald's All-American and the Gatorade Player of the Year in 2020. She also represented Team USA on the international level, winning the gold medal in 2021 at the U19 World Cup, as well as MVP and a second gold medal at the U23 World Cup in 2024. But back to March Madness, Fagan racked up 43 points and 8 assists during South Carolina's playoff run, and she ended her senior season with 315 points and 50 assists overall.
So she is a senior. So what does her future have in store?
I mean, she's draft eligible, and this season definitely boosted her WNBA draft stock. I mean, she had a tremendous presence on the court, and South Carolina made it to the final game once again. I actually saw in a post-game press conference posted on USA Today that head coach Dawn Staley believes she should be a first-round pick in the draft, so it'll be exciting to watch her.
I mean, it's always nice to see some Peach State representation in the draft, so.
I agree. All right, next up is junior guard Raven Johnson, a standout talent from Atlanta who attended Westlake High School. And like Fagan, Johnson had a decorated high school career, earning numerous accolades, including 2-time Atlanta Tip-Off Club Miss Georgia Basketball, 2-time GACA Player of the Year, USA Today Georgia Player of the Year in 2021, and she was ranked #1 as a point guard and #2 overall player nationally for the class of 2021. In her senior season at Westlake, she led them to a Class 6A championship win over Carrollton, making Westlake the 7th school in GHSA history to win 4 consecutive titles. She was named AJC's All-Classification Girl Player of the Year for the 2nd season in a row. So what a way to end your high school campaign.
Absolutely, absolutely. And now, I do know that she redshirted her first year, so how was her collegiate career after that?
Yeah, I mean, looking at her stats, she's had a great career so far. She concluded this season with an impressive 190 points and 108 assists. So, yeah, last season she earned all SEC second team and NCAA Albany 1 regional all-tournament team honors. She also made the SEC all-freshman team her first year. So, like Fagan, she's made an impact at every level she's played, making her one of the most exciting players to watch coming out of Georgia. And, you know, it's just pretty special to see both of these players not just compete, but shine on one of the biggest stages in college basketball, especially at a time when women's basketball is making huge strides in both viewership and market growth. I think this championship match was the 3rd most watched match in national games for women in history, so that's a pretty big deal.
Hey, true enough. I mean, I'm never particularly surprised to see Georgia athletes kind of standing out, competing on the highest levels, but I'd be lying if I said I didn't feel a little bit of a certain pride when I get to see it year to year. But that being said, that's all we got for you. This is Intern Insights. My name is Will Fields, and this is Pilar Rossi. And we'll be right back after this break.
Georgia High School Sports Daily is presented by GeorgiaConstructionCareers.com. Transform your future today. And by Smart Local 85. Sheet metal is a smart move.
All right, welcome back to Georgia High School Sports Daily. It is time now to bring on Jeannie Jourolmon. I'm going to have to make sure I said actually her name, her last name, make sure I said it correctly. But without further ado, let's go ahead and bring them on. Did I butcher your last name?
You did not butcher it. It's Jourolmon.
Jourolmon, okay.
Jourolmon.
I got you. All right.
Most of the time they call me Miss J, so that just makes it easier.
Miss J, okay, there we go. So I wanted to ask you, Miss J, obviously you've been doing this for a long time. You've been teaching at Elbert County, and then you obviously got the AD position. You obviously got to teach a former Elbert County great, McCole Harmon, who's a 3-time Super Bowl champ. Obviously, Chiefs fan right here next to me, Craig Sager. Just how cool is it to see kind of where you were before and kind of where you are now in your career being an AD?
I'm really enjoying it. What I think makes it unique is I'm also a graduate from ECCHS.
Yep,
So I grew up here in Elbert County, and I taught in the English department for about 25 years, and then I moved into the athletic position. So in that amount of time, I think I've seen a little bit of everything. I did work with cheerleading the vast majority of the time that I was an English teacher. So I'm really enjoying being on this end of athletics. I've obviously been a parent. My children came through Elbert County and participated in sports. And so this has really been exciting. So.
For sure. And how different has your role been, transition from a teacher and then being an AD where you're responsible for all the programs there in athletics?
Probably the biggest skill that translates over is, you've got your lesson plans and your organization and different things that you have to do as a teacher. And a lot of athletics deals with organization, getting your schedules and your buses and your transportation and your deposits and your gates and all those kind of things. So, that I think is helpful. But then also just being in the building and being aware of how the school runs overall, I think is helpful, to see it on the academic end, but then to kind of see how the athletics can complement that.
For sure. And then obviously we know how great of a football program Elbert County has, but you guys are now getting a flag football program. So congratulations on that. One of 15 teams to start. So just talk about that process of, you're having talks, you're having these meetings and trying to bring flag football to your program, to your athletic program.
Well, it initially actually started with the football high school championship, the Arthur Blank Foundation. There were several commercials and different things that, kind of came out during those ball games, and several local people reached out to me. Every year we have done a powder puff football game as like a fundraiser. And, that kind of stirs up interest every single year anyway. And so once that information came out about the Arthur Blank Foundation and the funding and stuff that they were, offering, then I put in that application and, basically kind of said, if it's meant to be, we'll get the grant money and that'll kind of get us off and running. We did have several ADs in this area that kind of were talking to one another. We met with some people from the Arthur Blank Foundation at East Jackson High School. They've got a very successful flag football program that they've had for a few years. And so just kind of, getting some feedback from them. I feel like we've got a lot of great athletes, here at Elbert County. And, speaking as a mom of a former football player, there's nothing like Friday nights under the lights and playing in the Granite Bowl. And, to give girls here in the community that opportunity, I think it's going to be fantastic.
I 100% agree. I think it's going to be great to see them, and kind of just as the proliferation of the sport continues to rise all across the country, probably going to be, an Olympic sport. I think it's phenomenal. My question to you, Ms. J, is what's the next step in the process for you? Obviously, usually around this time you have spring tryouts, and things like that. When will the hiring process kind of start for a coach? If you don't have one already, what's kind of next in terms of your flag football program?
Actually, earlier this morning, I did meet with someone in the school system who had expressed some interest in helping lead the flag football program. I kind of left her with some paperwork, got her to, kind of look over the ins and outs of how the game is played. You know, obviously she's not a former flag football player herself, but she is a former athlete. And so she's going to look over that. I did meet with some young ladies here at the high school that were interested in it. And honestly, I had probably about 80 girls attend the meeting. And, you know, I know some of them are involved in other sports, but, you know, a lot of them are not. And, you know, in my opinion, we're probably looking for, you know, 20 or so girls to kind of field this first team and just kind of see how it goes. So I'm hoping to do some tryouts. We've got the flag football powder puff game the end of April. So I'm thinking that'll kind of be a great, you know, let's see kind of how that works. You got your juniors and seniors playing against your freshmen and sophomores, you know, and you kind of see what, you know, in a fun environment, kind of what's going on. And I'm hoping that'll kind of lead us into, you know, possibly doing some spring tryouts, because in talking with the coach at East Jackson, you know, she said there are some opportunities in the summer to kind of get a feel for how the program runs and practices and a game. And, you know, the season doesn't start until late September. So I do feel like, you know, we kind of got some time when we come back in fall as well to kind of put together maybe those last pieces of the puzzle.
Yeah, and it looks like you guys will have enough for a JV program in the future with 80 girls coming out. So the grant gets rid of that barrier to entry. You guys get the funding, you have the support. Now you guys are trying to build the program. But I want to ask just about the flag football community as a whole. How excited are you to have a program and being able to kind of join the rest of the state and connect with the other programs, just this new sport, but a growing community just around this sport?
We're very excited about that. Stevens County Athletic Director and I have had several conversations, and I know right now they've got us placed in the same, you know, area together. And so we feel like that'll be great that, you know, we're both kind of starting off with, you know, some other teams that maybe are new to it as well. I know it's grown a lot. I know they picked up a lot of additional teams for this coming year as well. And we're hoping that, you know, by Hart, Franklin, Madison, some of the others around us will maybe join in the near future. But, you know, I'll be honest and say it'll be great to be one of the first ones in this Northeast Georgia to kind of, you know, take this and run with it. And maybe some of these other schools will kind of follow in behind us.
Yep, and you were talking about the Granite Bowl, obviously. In terms of facilities, I mean, how is that going to be an issue at all, just having a new sport, finding the practice time this first year, and just figuring out how that works?
I don't think so. I know we get to kind of pick the day of the week that we could play. And obviously we will be playing, you know, in the Granite Bowl. Friday nights, you know, are obviously out, but you wouldn't want to be competing against Friday night football anyway. Our recreation department oftentimes uses the Granite Bowl on some Saturdays with that, you know, travel football league. That's kind of, you know, how the recreation department, you know, run their football programs now. And then on some Thursdays, we have some middle school games, you know, and some JV games that are played on there. So when I was talking with the young lady earlier this morning, you know, that gives you Monday, Tuesday, and Wednesday, you know, for game days. And, you know, from what I've understood from talking to some of the ones who have started their program that, you know, oftentimes flag football is not one of those sports where you're practicing 5 days a week, playing 1 day a week, and you've got 1 day of rest. You know, it's more of you're practicing 2 days a week, playing 1 day a week. And so I kind of feel like that gives us, you know, some wiggle room, you know, as far as being able to kind of work out where we're going to practice and because we know where we're going to play. And honestly, the Granite Bowl may be an option for us as a practice field as well, because, you know, our football team does not practice, you know, on the Granite Bowl. But then we also have McWilliams Park, which is our recreation department, you know, would also give us an opportunity, you know, to maybe practice out there as well.
For sure. Well, Ms. J, we appreciate you coming on, talking a little about your great Elbert County community, your flag football team, and everything you guys got working out there. I appreciate you coming on, and we will talk to you soon.
Thank you, and I appreciate the opportunity.
Yes, ma'am, of course. All right, guys, coming up after the break, we will have more. We'll probably react to some of the biggest headlines that we've seen across the state and just different recruiting news. So don't go anywhere. We'll be right back after the break.
We celebrate the athletes, the buzzer beaters, the record breakers, the wins. Now, it's time to celebrate the people behind it all. The advice givers, the community shapers, the game changers, the life changers. It's time to celebrate our coaches. Join all of us at BSN Sports and show your coach some love by sharing their story with #ThankYouCoach.
Dang, where you get this car?
You need to join the union.
The union?
Absolutely. You can get 10 of these.
Union construction workers earn the highest wages with the best benefits and the most protection in the construction industry. Find your career in construction. Go to GeorgiaConstructionCareers.com and start your future today.
A journeyman with Local 85, when you turn out, you can be hitting 6 figures.
Hey, I have your back, you have my back. We're gonna do this together. We're one for all for one.
College just wasn't for me. Let's look into actual career jobs that wouldn't take college, where I wouldn't, lose money and all that. Instead of losing a lot more money at the end, why not make money and make more money at the end?
What happens after you graduate? Will you go to the next level? Will people have your back in the heat of the battle? Will you still train like a champion in pursuit of greatness? You will when you become an IBEW electrician. Join our team. Visit IBEW613.org.
All right, welcome back to Georgia High School Sports Daily. We got some breaking news from QB Marcus via Instagram, so I'm going to read out what the breaking news is. So Creekside and Buford are no longer having a spring game that has been axed. What's going to happen, per QB Marcus, Douglas County, Creekside, and Carver Columbus, they're set to play in a 3-team spring game May 14th at Georgia State. That sounds very exciting. What is your instant reaction? First off, for me, I love it because you got Carver Columbus, who's coming up from Columbus to play. We know about their great players. Obviously, Tristan Givens announced his top 4 here recently, and you obviously have KJ Miles, who recently committed to UNC, and their phenomenal program, and also have a top-end offensive lineman in Parker Pritchett. Then you pair that with Douglas County and Creekside. First thing I think of is just the physicality. I mean, all 3 of those teams are super physical.
Yeah, and super talented.
Yes.
Had great seasons last year and were very young, returned everyone. To me, it's just the film you're going to get from these spring scrimmages. Yeah. I mean, this is an opportunity for these players that are already in the spotlight. Teams like Carver Columbus that dominated last year, won the state title, put everyone on notice. Teams like Douglas County nearly knocking off Grayson without with their backup quarterback. You got Creekside nearly taking the 4A state title. I just think you're going to see guys come out, have these big performances, get that film out there. I think it's a great idea. And then with the 3 games, you're able to, I mean, I don't know how different the styles may be. Obviously, these teams are very versatile offensively. They can do a lot, but it's an opportunity to just face 2 different teams when you've been going up against yourselves all spring.
100%. And I think the cool part about all this is that these teams, these prominent powerhouse teams here in the state of Georgia are using the Georgia State facilities and using their stadium. Because remember, we got a Gainesville, North Gwinnett game as well. I think that's going to be played on Thursday. It might be one more team I can't think of off the top of my head. But the fact that Georgia State's, open in arms, letting these teams do that, and then think about this for the coaches. They don't have to go anywhere, right? You got all this great talent that you want to recruit in the state of Georgia right there in front of your face, right at your school.
Yeah, and you got to think it's a great move for Georgia State also.
Yes, yeah. 100%. Yeah,
exactly. And we've seen some other interesting spring games. I know probably about 7 years ago, Brookwood actually scrimmaged all the way at Hoover for their spring game. But this is like a new type of jamboree or way to test yourself, but also, I think, have a little bit of fun. I mean, it's going to simulate a real game when instead of just, we're going to do an inner squad or we're going to do the starters for this first half. It's like, no, you got two very talented opponents to go up against.
Yeah, 100%. I can't wait. That's a lot of fun. Obviously, again, shout out to QB Marcus for breaking that news. I mean, I think that's going to be great to obviously watch. We'll have a reaction to that as well. All right, we got some other news from across the state. Let's see where Max is going to have us with the graphics he's going to pull up first. All right, there it is. So from yesterday, I know you know the Benedictine program very well, Craig. But what's your reaction to Stephen Cannon? Very underrated in my opinion still, but he commits to Texas Tech, obviously a program on the rise, and what they're trying to do. Always have great receivers. I think this past year finished with over 1,500 yards and 10-plus touchdowns with, obviously, Benedictine. I think they're a predominantly run-heavy team, but with the addition, obviously, they have Bubba Frazier, several other top-end guys. I can see them airing the ball out more this year. But what's your reaction to this?
Yeah, I mean, when he was in the starting lineup for Benedictine last year, I thought they were one of the best teams in Class 4A. They actually were, I believe, up on Ware County when he went down. They ended up losing that game. Still had a great overall team, tons of success, but he's a difference maker. And what stands out to me about Benedictine quarterbacks, they always just have very tough physical guys. I mean, 6'3", 200 pounds. This is a sturdy quarterback that can move around, run, get the first downs, huge arm strength. I think Benedictine this year, though, what we've seen some more guys transfer in. I think that's going to be very interesting. The entire Savannah area has a lot of talent, growing programs. Calvary Day, Jenkins, even New Hampstead. Savannah is really hot right now, and I think Benedictine being able to add more transfers. I think their defensive line is going to be unbelievable this year. Coach Britt does a great job, and just once again having an experienced quarterback returning. Certainly a Class 4A contender, maybe even a favorite.
Yeah, it's a great point. I mean, 4A is going to be so interesting this year, Craig. I mean, got Creekside in there, BT, you can't forget about them, Norfolk Coney, Benedictine. It's going to be a lot of fun to watch 4A this year.
I think the defensive line is the big thing for me. Last year, Herbert Scroggins leading the state pretty much. He ended up going to Miami, right?
W went to Miami, yes, sir.
He was one of the best defensive linemen they've had. Well, this year it seems like they've got the entire front solidified.
Yep.
They're going to have a lot of talent. They usually have some versatile guys that can go in on offense, go in on defense, but having a quarterback like Cannon that last year missed some times for the injury, comes back healthy, is getting his recruiting taken care of. I just think that, I mean, he's going to be polished and college ready.
For sure. And speaking of that defensive line, Craig's alluding to Cameron Cody, who's going to Clemson. Obviously, he's one that's going to be on the defensive line, and also Damian Guyton as well. Going to be very exciting to see. Remember, we'll have a story on that via the 4A blog from Max Borski, so check that out tomorrow. Have an exclusive story there. All right, what you got next, Max? All right, Fong Baum from On3 Recruits. Here it is. Carson Baker recently announced his final 5. And here, as you guys can see, he has landed an expert prediction to sign with Ohio State, or to commit to Ohio State. I believe in that top 5 was Clemson, also Georgia. I think he had Florida in there, and obviously Ohio State. So what's your reaction to this? I mean, Ohio State, I don't want to say they're there, but they're almost like RBU. I mean, when I think RBU, I always think of Georgia. You know, I think of those top programs. Alabama, obviously, of course. But, I mean, Ohio State, we look at Quishon Judkins in this year's draft, Craig. You obviously look at Travion Henderson, what they've produced in years past. What's your thoughts?
Yeah, well, I mean, watching Carson Baker play, very dangerous out of the backfield. He can catch the football. He, to me, just has a lot of speed. That's the foundation of his skill set. I think he's one of the best running backs in the state. What do you think about his projection at the college level?
I think he's phenomenal. I put him on par with, I wish he was playing football at the next level, Maurice Gleason. Remember, they run track together. He's a guy that's explosive, great contact balance. He gets on the open field. Good luck trying to stop him. I mean, this past year was electric for Langston. He was over 1,000 yards rushing, I think close to 10 touchdowns. So, I mean, it's a guy, you get the ball in space, he's dangerous. And what's so cool about his story, Craig, is he was not a heavily recruited guy, but started to get more buzz, you know, as kind of the years wore on with Langston Hughes. We always know they have a great offensive line.
Yeah, and they're one of the teams where they have so many flashy, big-name players. He does kind of go under the radar, but obviously he's up to the 4-star status on 3. Ohio State, that's huge for him. And, I mean, Langston Hughes this year in 5A, they're going to have something to say.
100%. Now we're going to save the other one, the Rome one, Max, for when Hayden comes on. So we're going to save that one. I want to get his reaction to the latest offer the quarterback got. But what else you got for us? All right, boom, there it is. Craig, I had to get your reaction to this. You know this program also very well, but here it is. Come watch us work this spring. This was announced, obviously, not too long ago, but April 28th, 3 to 5, and then April 29th, 3 to 5 as well, and then May 5th, May 6th, May 12th, 6 to 8 late window right there, and then May 1st, May 2nd, May 8th, May 14th, and then they're going to have a spring game. What's your thoughts? A Brookwood program we've had in person. Chad Nigmahart was obviously here and talked to us, but what's your thoughts? Should be a much better team this year.
Yeah, to me, I think Brookwood has learned its identity. They know what type of team they're going to be this year, and I think it comes from Braden Tyson. What he's been able to do the last 2 years for them, he's provided them a superstar at the running back position. They know they can run the football with him, so now they can find support for him. They can manage his carries. They can be more balanced offensively. Defensively, they also know their identity. They got a solid secondary, tackle very well. I just think this year, having the identity, it just adds excitement to their practice. They know they're familiar with all their opponents. They know what they need to do. I think it's just about putting in as much work as possible in this offseason and then be ready to go early on. Last year in the Corky Kell, they nearly pulled off the win over Walton. I think if they had one more possession, they would have gotten it. Had a great overall season, and then had the leading rusher in Georgia's highest classification with Braden Tyson returning next year. He's unstoppable.
100%. Can't wait. Obviously, great analysis right there from Craig Sager. But coming up after the break, we're going to bring on Hayden Gilbert, get some more of these headlines that we're seeing across the state. Don't go anywhere. Come right back here on the Peachtree Sports Network. Which one you starting with?
Oh, yeah, Hillgrove. Yeah.
All right, welcome back to Georgia High School Sports Daily. We're now welcome on, we're going to move over a little bit, welcome on Hayden Gilbert to the show. Super excited to talk about some of these topics with him. Let's go ahead and start with Zach Parker, though, for obviously one of them. You've been high on him. You recently wrote a story on ScoreTL.com. Second offer already. He is so young. Hayden, He will be entering into his freshman season this year with obviously the Rome Wolves. They obviously have a fixture here in the Corky Kell for us. But just what's your thoughts on him letting a UAB offer this young?
I mean, it's any offer before your high school career is big. It's not some of these guys where like Elijah Griffin got a offer from Georgia before his freshman season. But still, no matter what, you're looking at a guy that's probably going to be a high Power 4 guy. He's not. I don't think he's one of those guys that, as of right now, he's not going into his high school career as that guy at 6'4", 6'5". He's only 6 foot. But when you look at his film, when you look at everything he can do and what his technique, his footwork's already pretty good. When he leaves the pocket, he's not just tucking the ball and running. He's keeping his eyes downfield. He's finding that open receiver. He's putting pressure on the defenses that a lot of quarterbacks, even up until high school, find it really hard to do and to learn.
For sure. I think he's going to be special. I mean, I've gotten a chance to talk to him just in person. I can't wait to see him obviously play. I know they have Hayden McPherson there for now, so he'll probably sit for that first year. But that class, as we talked to Coach John Reed, is very special coming in for Rome. But I can't wait to see where he grows mentally and also physically, because it reminds me of Teddy. Teddy was not a big guy. 5'8", grew to 6'3". I feel like Zach's arc, he can grow to 6'3", 6'4". And if he already has what you just described, the footwork, the intangibles, the ability to spin the football, he could be really probably one of the top recruits in the country.
Yeah, and the talent obviously is there with what you said as a pro-style quarterback, but for them to be extending the offers, they probably see that leadership potential also, that confidence that quarterbacks have to have. Obviously, when we see 2029, it makes us feel a little bit old. But how does a quarterback handle it when you're coming into your high school years when you already have these offers?
I think when you talk to these kids, it can be detrimental to some of these kids. It can be if they don't react properly, they can sit there and go, well, I've already made it. I'm already an amazing quarterback. I don't have to put in all this work. But the great ones go in and say, hey, I already have my future secured. I already have these offers. I don't have to worry about putting in all the effort to get these offers in my sophomore, junior, senior year. And now I can worry about working on myself and working on making this team as good as I can possibly be.
Couldn't agree more. It's always going to be how you react. From talking to Zach personally and having a little bit of a relationship, I don't get that kind of vibe from him. A guy that puts his head down and works really hard. But like you said, Hayden, it's going to be just, okay, you know your future secured. Okay, how are you going to lock in during the high school season, continue to perform at a high level? I think Zach's going to check that box.
Yeah, and then what we've also seen with these young quarterbacks where people are like, oh, how is he already so established? I mean, these guys are having individual trainers. They're working on everything. And so that's why you're seeing guys like Teddy Gerard, these young underclassmen, they're coming in polished, and then they grow into their frame a little bit, pack on the size. He's got a lot of work he can still do, but certainly that future's there. And I just think his maturity, that's obviously evident just talking football with these recruiters. They see something special in them.
For sure. All right, guys, let's go to our next headline. Craig, I got to get your reaction to this. Joel Comby, I might be saying his name wrong, but for the Kell Longhorns, recently was down a 4-star prospect. Obviously here, I think that's huge. Craig, I want to get your reaction, get your thoughts on this. They also have Tony Forkbaugh. They also have Jalen Williams, who was recently committed to Arizona State. What is your thoughts on, I mean, just a phenomenal secondary with so many pieces?
Yeah, and I mean, Kell's got a great secondary. Sprayberry does also. To me, I think when you look at Kell's schedule, the biggest game that I really want to see is against Cambridge. Those wide receivers, that offense with Tyler Jones, you got Craig Dandridge, you got Hudson Kuchera. They're going to be tested this year. I just think that's such an incredible matchup, just seeing this Kell secondary, lots of talent, lots of star power. They will be tested this year with some big matchups.
Quick thoughts, Craig. Hayden. Sorry.
I feel like this is what we've seen with Kell in recent years. They always have these DBs. I think 2 years ago they had 3 or 4 safeties that were 3-stars or better.
Yep, McCravey Sabor.
This is just like what we've come to expect from them, just developing high-end defensive backs.
That's a good point. All right, let's go to our final headline really quick. Another major one right here, as we can see. So Chris Carbon, Craig, you know about the Hillgrove team. You raved about their defensive line. I mean, another guy I think is underrated, but glad to see somebody finally give him some praise. 6'4", 230. believe, Craig, he was in something of ours. I can't remember off the top of my head, but I'm pretty sure we put something around, obviously, for Chris Carbon.
Yeah, and then Hillgrove, just in our Georgia Elite Classic, just dominated. They were so disruptive on the defensive line last year. That's why they have one of their best seasons. I feel like they've returned to prominence. They beat McEachern for the first time in a long time. You see them becoming a lot more competitive. And when you look at the record, you look at the success, it's because their defensive line was making teams one-dimensional, making it really hard to get anything extra up the middle, forcing a lot of turnovers, and they've got a lot of talent up there.
Real quick, Hayden, just your thoughts on how they can build from having a really successful year and just kind of build on that going into 2025.
I feel like they have a lot of the pieces. This coaching staff's done it before. COVID really hurt the Hillgrove program. When you look at, they went from a team that was consistently making quarterfinals and semifinals runs to a team that was struggling to make the playoffs. But they didn't fire their coach. They stuck with them. They stuck with that entire coaching staff. And now you look at it, they're having those players, and it's very similar to how they were winning back then. Back then they had Miles Murphy. Now they have Corbin.
Yep.
So I feel like they're building the same way they did before.
100%. Well, guys, it's going to conclude the show for today. We appreciate you tuning in. We have a special show tomorrow, so make sure you tune in. We're going to be ranking Gwinnett County football teams from tiers, Tier 1, Tier 2, Tier 3, Tier 4. So don't go anywhere. Make sure you come back tomorrow, same place, same time, from 12 to 1 p.m. on the Peachtree Sports Network. We'll see you then.
Hey, is the power off on this?
I don't know. Just take it off.
Safety violation, unsafe work conditions.
In the construction trades unions, safety is our highest priority, and we train you to recognize and speak out on unsafe working conditions so that everyone arrives and goes home safely. Learn about careers in construction at georgiaconstructioncareers.com.
Beginning the morning you opened your eyes, we spent every waking moment preparing you for the day you'd leave our nest. Whether it's driving to practice or helping with homework, it's all prepared you for, what am I going to be when I grow up? Will you be ready?
After much thought, I made my decision to take my talents to the IBEW Local 613.
The International Brotherhood of Electrical Workers is not simply a job, it's a career. Visit IBEW613.org to begin a new future today.
We celebrate the athletes, the buzzer beaters, the record breakers, the wins. Now, it's time to celebrate the people behind it all. The advice givers, the community shapers, the game changers, the life changers. It's time to celebrate our coaches. Join all of us at BSN Sports and show your coach some love by sharing their story with #ThankYouCoach.
Are you interested in becoming a deputy or a jailer? The Gwinnett County Sheriff's Office is hiring and looking for individuals passionate about protecting and serving their community. If you are 18 years or older, join our team by visiting gogcso.com for more information. Gwinnett County, together, we can make a difference.
Welcome back to the Georgia High School Sports Daily Show. This is Intern Insights. I'm Pilar Rossi.